When should you take a deload week? Find out in today's Q&A. Hey everyone, Selwyn here for WynnStrength.com, where the goal of the channel is to help you get a little bit stronger every single day. Thanks for clicking on another 5-Minute Friday Q&A series where I attempt to answer your questions in under 5 minutes. If you have your own question, please leave them in the comments below and I'll get to that in a future video. So today's video is actually going to be it's going to be a multi-part series where I address deloads, when, how, and why I should do them. So today is a great question, just opening that up with when should you do a deload? So let's start that timer. I think everyone should break their training down into the course of a year and map out how they're going to attack training over the course of a year. I think it's a great mindset to adopt, to start breaking down your year into certain training blocks or seasons. That way you have a structured approach to developing as a lifter. You have structured, strategic times of the year where you're going to be training, overreaching, underreaching, recovering, stressing, and then just kind of coasting along as well. All of these play an important part, and if we don't have a plan, we're not really going to get as advanced as we could have given the same time frame. This is a more efficient way to look at your lifting career. So not only should we be looking at the training aspects of the seasons, but you should also be looking at downtime and deload weeks, possibly deload cycles too, depending on how hard you train. So as you become more advanced in your lifting career, you'll start to notice that deload weeks become more and more important. That's something I've noticed in the recent years with my own training. Deloads are important to lifters because it gives the body time to refresh and rejuvenate. Just like you can't train for 24 hours a day, the body doesn't need to recover on a daily basis. It needs to recover on a more long-term basis because the stress accumulates over the days and over the weeks. You don't just refresh the next day. We've all experienced DOMs, so it can elongate on a micro level to like 48 to 72 hours, but on a little bit more of a macro level, those stresses are going to accumulate in the body week after week. And from a long-term perspective, by scheduling in these regular rest periods, it does help you to advance longer. It does help you to advance more efficiently in the long run. And what it does allow is when we do schedule in these periodic blocks of rest, we're able to schedule in, not only with the rest comes the week before that, we can schedule in functional overreaching, where we're purposefully and intentionally training as hard as we can, possibly to the point of failure, because we know that the next week we're going to be able to rest and recover with really light training or no training at all. Whereas if we try to schedule that at the start of a training block, bad idea, but if we did do that, that next week's going to suck because we're not recovered from that overreaching from the first week, and then the third week is going to be affected by the second week. This is why it's important to have a plan in place so we're not putting in training to failure states at the wrong point in time. Now, if you are new to lifting, the deloads probably aren't going to have that big of an effect on you because you don't really need it just yet. Your body's able to adjust and recuperate from stresses a lot quicker than someone that's been doing this for a really long time. And also, when you're starting lifting, you're probably not ingrained into the habit just yet. So life is going to find a way to stop you training here and there. Maybe you're going to have a couple of unplanned days off or an unplanned week off. And with those unplanned events in life that pop up when you're a new lifter, that's probably going to be enough time to allow your body to recover just in time to start that new training cycle. This comes down to absolute and relative weights being lifted. So a beginner's squat max may be 135 pounds, whereas an advanced lifter's squat max might be 600 pounds. Now, both of those lifters both exerted 100% of their effort. They both had, say, an RPE 10 moment. It both felt as heavy to each lifter as it did to the other lifter. But that 135 pounds has a lot less of an effect on the body than 600 pounds does on the body. So that absolute weight stresses the body a lot more than 135 pounds will, even though the two lifters are of different skills. So personally, I like to deload every 5 to 8 weeks, depending on the program and the style of training I'm doing. In between each training block and program changes when I'll throw in those week offs or light weeks, or really doing cardio, doing anything other than heavy, intense training. And this equates to roughly 6 to 10 weeks out of a year, depending on how I'm training, obviously. And one final thing to consider with your deload and your yearly training schedule is consider other life events that you're able to pre-plan as much as possible. So one of the reasons I rarely work out on holidays, special events, vacations, is that I plan my training around those events. I have them somewhat marked out in the calendar, and I kind of know when they're going to fall, just about. And I'll pick dates. I'll count back from there and count how many weeks I have in between each special event. And then you can manage your training so that you're leading up to functional overreaching, or you're leading up to the end of a training program, or you're leading up to overreaching point. And that way, that week where you have off, you know you're going to have off, you don't need to train because you've trained hard up until. I just think that's an important last point to wrap up on, is that it removes that stress from trying to figure out how to train when you're having some fun with family, friends, you're enjoying yourself on vacation. When you remove that factor out of the equation, then you don't need to train because you know you've put in that work that allows you to rest for that amount of time. So hopefully you found this video helpful and you got some value out of that. Consider clicking that like button. Also subscribe to the Q&A playlist so that you can catch up on previous episodes and you won't miss out on any future episodes. This has been Selwyn from Wynn Strength, and remember to never stop learning and to never stop lifting.